Welcome, one and all, to the Hammer Territory Podcast. My name is Shawn Coleman. Hope wherever you are and wherever you are listening, you are having an absolutely wonderful week. And hey, if you're a Braves fan, man, I hope that you're sitting down, having a nice cold one, and whatever you need to do to de-stress. What a day it was, both for positives and the negatives when it comes to the Braves. But the one big takeaway is that we ended it on a positive note, a 9-2 win in which the Braves, backing Chris Sale, were able to beat Zach Wheeler in convincing fashion. We'll discuss that. Plus the first game, obviously, all the different things that went into a wild first game. Unfortunately, some injuries to discuss as well, and also looking ahead to the series against Boston. But Stephen, the main takeaway that I have from today, it was a bittersweet day. We'll obviously get to the details of that in a bit. But I don't think that you could have paid all the best writers in Hollywood to script in a day a better summary of what the Braves have gone through over the past couple of years than today. It literally had everything. I'm glad it ended on a positive note. But man, so many ups and downs in one day. It gets to you. But again, at least we have something positive to build on to end it.
Yeah, obviously a doubleheader today. Today had everything. I mean, it had wild managerial decisions. It had major injuries. It had ups and downs in games. It had one-run losses. It had a blowout. It had Chris Sale being awesome. It had everything. You're right. It really was just a perfect summary of basically the last 18 months as a Braves fan in one day. And I'm very happy it went in the order that it did, where we got to end on the good note, versus if it had gone the other way, where they dominate game one and then all the nonsense that happened had happened in game two. It obviously would have been a much different tone. But the fact that they ended by basically kicking the crap out of Zach Wheeler again, with Chris Sale dominating, that does kind of put us on a little bit more of an upward trajectory, maybe heading back home into against Boston, than had it happened the other way around. So at the very least, we got to end on a high note. The first game was a mess. We're going to talk about it all. The injury to AJ sucks, but we did end on a high note. The offense finally showed up. Chris Sale was unbelievable, and the tone is a little happier because of it.
Yeah, and we talked about it on the last podcast. We ended the podcast on Tuesday talking about the fact that we were to that point. Who was going to step up in the clubhouse, what have you? Who was really going to show that now is the time? It's not about, hey, we'll get them tomorrow. You got to get them today. And that's what it felt like. And it felt like that the message was being delivered by the whole team. That lineup in the nightcap of the doubleheader was absolutely focused. Once Zach Wheeler got through the first three innings, it's just like the Braves collectively said, enough is enough. And they went out and did what we know they're all capable of doing. And it's great to see that they end on a positive note. And again, as I mentioned, the ceiling of this lineup, the ceiling of this team still, at any point in time, can easily match anybody in baseball. They showed it tonight. Yes, it's a bit frustrating that they could do what they did tonight, but it's so rare to see that. But the big thing that stands out to me is Chris Sale being backed by our offense in a playoff type game. That really showed what this team is capable of. And once again, I know that they've gotten to Zach Wheeler here in the past recently. Once again, this team can perform well against good starting pitching. Again, there's multiple things to build off of, which we all have been desperately wanting to see.
Yeah. I mean, that nightcaps, it all starts with Chris Sale. I mean, he's just unreal. He was getting BABIP to death in the first probably 3 weeks of the season. He was running like a 420 BABIP. And so his numbers didn't look great, but his peripheral still looked strong. His stuff, maybe more importantly, looked great. And what we've seen is that BABIP stuff has regressed down to a mean, and now his overall numbers are starting to reflect the level that he's actually pitching. 6 shutout innings tonight against the Phillies, 8 strikeouts. He had a couple of innings where he had to dance around a little bit of trouble, but nothing crazy. I thought the coolest stat I saw, I don't know if you saw this, I think it was John Morosi who saw this. Chris Sale is the fastest pitcher ever to 2,500 strikeouts in terms of innings pitched. the fastest ever to 2,500 strikeouts in MLB history. That's crazy. I mean, you think about some of the guys that have come through in the history of baseball, and Chris Sale is the fastest ever by innings pitched to 2,500 strikeouts. He's been the Braves ace for 2 years now. I'm very curious to see, if we really zoom out on Chris Sale, career-wide, Hall of Fame stuff. Like, I'm really curious to see if he can have kind of a really strong second half of his career with the Braves, hopefully with the Braves and only with the Braves, the next 3, 4, 5 years. The Hall of Fame stuff, because he missed so much time in the middle of his career, that stuff has kind of gotten pushed to the side. But if he finishes strong over the next few years, Hall of Fame is very much in reach for Chris. And man, he was awesome today. And good Lord, did the Braves need it. I mean, if Chris Sale had come out and gotten absolutely lit up tonight, the vibes would have been maybe at an all-time low. I mean, maybe lower than when they started 0-7, quite honestly, with what happened in that first game. So massive, massive game from Chris. We'll talk about the offense, but 6 shutout innings, gave the offense a chance to get out. It was one of these easy games where, like, the offense scored early. Chris was awesome. The offense scored late. It was just a breezy win. And man, do we miss those? We don't have a lot of those this season, and we got one tonight. And it starts with a guy on the mound, and he was unbelievable.
Absolutely. And it was also a game. It was a bounce back game. It was a game where you could hear a collective sigh of relief from a few members of the lineup. I'm talking about Austin Riley as well as Ozzie Albies. Both of those players tonight hit home runs, believe it or not. Tonight was the first time that Austin Riley has homered since May 4th. It's the first time that Ozzie Albies has homered since May 3rd. We're talking about more than 25 days for both players since they've hit a home run. We've discussed that one big thing, one glaring concern about this team. Yes, it's runners in scoring position from their best hitters, but also just the lack of overall power that's happened in May. It's good to see that they're ending the month on a note, especially with a couple of guys who this team desperately has to get going in the right direction for the team as a whole to get going in the right direction.
Well, yeah, and even in the second half of game one today, we saw the offense really, for the first time in a while, come to life. I mean, the Braves scored, I think, 4 runs in the last 3 innings of game 1 today, and Sean Murphy hit a homer. There was back-to-back doubles from Acuna and Harris. They just got some off. Not only did they get offense, they got extra base hits. They got power. And that's just what you just said it. That's just what we haven't seen. And then, obviously in game 2, they scored 9 runs, Austin homers, Ozzie homers, more extra base hits, a bunch of walks, just stuff we haven't seen a ton of. And so that's like my big takeaway outside of Chris Sale. Chris Sale is number 1, of course. But outside of that, the last 10, 11 innings of this series, the offense really woke up. And they gave themselves a chance to win the first game. The bullpen kind of let them down. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the last 10 innings of these 2 games, they scored 13 runs. Or I think it was 11 innings. They scored 13 runs. So that's huge. And it's only as good as it continues, right? I mean, we've seen this before with this offense where they get hot for a game or 2, and then they go through a week where they score 3 runs or less. So it's only as good as it continues. And that's what we need to see going into Boston. They just had a good series offensively against Boston in Boston. Now the Red Sox are coming to Atlanta. Keep it up. Keep it up where you're scoring runs. Because let's be honest, this team is not going on any sort of run until this offense wakes up. I mean, we saw it all last year. Going on any sort of significant run when you're scoring 2 or 3 runs a game is almost impossible. To get really back in it, they got to get hot as an offense. And this was a good start. In the last 11 innings of these 2 games, they scored 13 runs. So that's a good start.
Absolutely. And again, we talked about it on the last podcast. If it wound up being Wheeler versus Sale, getting that win, and not only that, but getting in a convincing fashion, that's the type of win that for a team as capable of it, what Atlanta is capable of, to the level of winning that they're capable of, that type of win can really help to propel them in the right direction. But as good of a day as it was, or as good of a note as it was to end on when it comes to the Braves, the first part of the day was pretty rocky, both in terms of the results that happened in Game 1, but also some unfortunate injury news as well. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that more after a word from our partners.
Todd Father and I are from Jersey, so we're used to, oh, I got a guy. But sometimes that just means when I'm looking for a car, I go to Car Gurus.
Yeah, and I think honestly the best part about this is communication, which we love here in Jersey where we're from. And this is a place where you can get a car. The price drops all the time, and they let you know. They let you know when your car is ready and when you can get it. The communication part is the best thing for me, Scott.
Agreed. In-depth vehicle reviews. Car Gurus will connect you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent and hassle-free buying process with over 4 million listings. They have more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the U.S., so you can find the best deal. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com. cargurus.com.
So Brad, excuse me. That is a shout out to Brad Rowland. Steven, let's talk Game 1. And you mentioned it. I don't know if you are a fan of Saturday Night Live, but there is a character played by Bill Hader named Stefan, who is one of the many characters that have been on the weekly news segment. And I love his skits of when he's talking about when he's being the source of tourism. He's like, this place has everything. Again, Game 1 literally had everything, and let's break it down. Now let's get kind of the summary of the game out of the way. Braves lost 5-4. Phillies went up 3-0. It looked like it was going to be a carbon copy of Tuesday's game, but then the Braves came back. Ronald Acuna Jr. entered the game after Stuart Fairchild left. He looked on point. They got some big hits. And then we get to the bottom of the 8th inning, tied 4-4. It looks like the Braves could be in it to get the job done. Then that's where the questionable or the concerns started to happen. Of course, as we talked about in the last podcast, regression is fully here for Daysbel for Hernandez, and as a disastrous 8th inning, I believe that he walked 2 or 3, hit a batter. Shout out to Dylan Dodd, who came in and kind of put the fire out real quickly. So good job for him. But Daysbel Hernandez is a concern right now, as is the back end bullpen. And then in the top of the 9th inning, the Braves had a chance to come back, but a bit of a questionable decision, I think, with how you handled Drake Baldwin. Him pinch running for Marcell Ozuna instead of just allowing for him to hit. Once again, shout out to the Braves, as you mentioned, they put themselves in a position to potentially win the game. But then the bullpen, managerial decisions, again, we talk about aspects of the team not being on the same page, just some unfortunate events that occurred that cost them a winnable game, and that just can't happen, many times more.
Yeah, the Daysbel stuff is weird. I don't really know what to do with Daysbel. The walks have just gotten out of hand. I think he's got more walks than strikeouts now. He hit a batter with the bases loaded to bring in the go-ahead run after I think he gave up 2 walks and a single to load the bases. He's not striking anybody out, which is terrifying. It doesn't make any sense with somebody with his stuff. If you look at his strikeout numbers last year, they were fantastic, and this year they've just fallen off a mountain. So I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what you do. Listen, I've said it all year. I think the back of the bullpen is a problem. Not just from the lineup has been a problem, but not from a talent perspective, from a production perspective. The bullpen, I think, is a problem from a talent perspective. And that's almost a more serious problem because I expect Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, Marcell Ozuna, I expect their production to at some point match their talent. If you don't have the talent to begin with, which is where I fear the back of the bullpen is, it's a more serious problem. And we saw even tonight, Raisel Iglesias came in the 9th inning and did not look good. Gave up a run, gave up some hard contact. There probably should have been a home run at the last pitch of the game. It was like a 403-foot flyout. Did not look good at all. And so the back of the bullpen is a major concern. Even if you get this offense rolling, this is an area that I think Alex is going to have to address in the next 6 weeks. What pissed me off about the top of the 9th, first of all, Ozzie running. So I understand the logic. You're trying to get in a scoring position. The problem is you're the tying run. You have Riley, Ozuna, and Olsen coming up. You're not the fastest guy now. Listen, if this was, it's weird to say, but if this was like Eli White, I would maybe understand it more because he is a legitimate like elite speed guy. Ozzy's not an elite speed guy. Ozzy's more of a, I think his sprint speed is somewhere in like the 54th percentile or something like that. His speed has dropped the last couple of years. He's not that guy anymore. And he gets on base and immediately gets thrown out, and it just pours cold water. And the Braves got I think the Braves got a single and 3 walks in that inning and didn't score. I did not like using Drake Baldwin as a pitch runner. I mean, Snit's done this a couple of times. He did it with Arcia too, where like he's using guys that are marginally faster than Marcel. I don't even know if Drake Baldwin's faster than Marcel, honestly. Just like I don't think Orlando Arcia was faster when he did it with him before he got cut. And it ended up coming up where like Eli White was batting with the bases loaded, and you couldn't use Drake Baldwin because he was standing on third base as a pinch runner. And that would have been a really good spot to pinch hit Drake Baldwin. Now, I know people said they were out of outfielders. I still think you could have put Marcell Ozuna in right field for half an inning if need be. Philadelphia's right field is so small. I don't think it would have been that big a deal. But you didn't have the option because you used Drake Baldwin as a pinch runner. So that stuff I'm not in love with. And I understand some of it was because of the Fairchild injury, and some of it's because they had already used Verdugo in a weird spot. They gave Luke Williams a weird start, so they had already burned him. It was a weird game. It was just a weird game for Snit, and it did not help that we're going to talk about AJ here in a second, but they lost their starter in the second inning. That didn't help at all, or the third inning, excuse me. But yeah, it was a really weird 8th and 9th, and some decisions I didn't love.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, according to Baseball Savant, of course, they have that graphic that shows for each hitter where they are, in the percentile of MLB players in a certain skill. Drake Baldwin is in the 17th percentile when it comes to sprint speed. Marcell Ozuna is in the 4th. So again, a marginal increase that, is not worth giving up the chance to use Baldwin's at bat. But let's get to the unfortunate news of the day. And in case you did not, or just now, kind of looking at the details of the game, AJ Smith-Shawver pitched, I believe, 2 1/3, 2 2/3 innings. But in a sequence of events, basically, he gave up a hit that went off his leg. It is happening a lot when it comes to Braves hitters, what have you. And then a few pitches later, unfortunately, he threw a pitch. He was not feeling right. I know that some pointed out that Spencer Strider actually mentioned to the coaching staff that he did not look right. And when they went out and checked on him, you could see him, mouth the words, "I felt a pop." The immediate news following that is that he was immediately put on the IL. Brian Snicker, who I will give Snicker credit. Snicker is pretty transparent when it comes to conversations with reporters at times. He said it did not look good. Listen, we hope that the news is not as bad as it looks, but more than likely, it seems like this is going to end in some sort of season-ending surgery. And Stephen, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like that the loss of AJ Smith-Shawver, yes, it is significant for the Braves, but I think that they can, like Bryce Elder for some, and then later on maybe they go out and get a starter. I feel like that you can come up with similar production for his spot in the rotation for this year. I just hate it for the kid. I hate it for the kid in that he was showing some real promise this year. He was starting to turn his potential into production, and that was filling a hole for this Braves team. But yet, just like last year, if you go back to 2024, he had that one good start, his one good start of the season against the Cubs, hurts his oblique. I don't think he pitches again, until the playoffs. Well, now he may miss a full year, depending on what type of surgery he potentially is going to have. You feel for the kid because it's just these injuries that are really preventing him from being able to take off like the Braves really need him to do. You hope, again, the news is good, but it's more than likely he's probably done for the season.
Yeah, that was a brutal sequence. That was a really weird sequence. So he gets hit in like the foot or the calf on a line drive. And like 2 pitches later, he's shaking his arm and his elbow. And, people were like speculating, like, did he hurt his foot? So he started trying to throw different and then hurt his elbow. I don't know. It was like, what are the odds that you hurt your elbow within a pitch or two of being hit with a comebacker? And Snit said after the game, the two had nothing to do with each other. It was just a coincidence. But it's just what a wild coincidence. And I do want to stress, we do not know for certain what this injury is or the extent of the recovery. But anytime you hear a pitcher say, "I felt a pop," and Snit said it after the game, he's like, I would expect this to be bad news. So I think we all can kind of read the tea leaves there of where this is probably heading. The good news for AJ is he's 22 years old. And even if he misses a year, he's still going to be perfectly in a normal, age range for a prospect. This is not like a 26-year-old. What sucks is it had really started to click. Like, it had really started to click about how to be a major league pitcher. He was still throwing. He had really learned how to command his fastball and still hit some velocity. He threw like a 99-mile-an-hour fastball today against Trey Turner. The splitter had been really good. It's just such a bummer. And listen, for the Braves, I agree with you. I think my number one takeaway is I feel sorry for him because he had really started to put together. But for the Braves, this is just another hit to their depth. And yes, Bryce Elder is almost certainly going to come up and take that spot in the rotation. And Bryce Elder pitched really well before he got sent down. And maybe that continues. But if it doesn't, who do you turn to? I mean, this is just kind of like they've already lost Ronaldo. Now they're probably going to lose Smith-Shawver. Again, we don't know that for certain, but maybe by the time you're listening to this, you'll know. It's just, they already, we talked about it a lot. They didn't go out and get any starters in the offseason. So, they just don't have any more depth. You're going to have Chris Sale, you're going to have Strider, you're going to have Schwellenbach, you're going to have Grant Holmes, and you're going to have Bryce Elder. And those are going to be your five. And after those five, I don't know who the next guy up is. Hurston Waldrop has looked a little better in AAA. But my guess is they're going to try to go get somebody at the trade deadline, assuming the Braves are still in contention, which quite honestly is not a sure thing at this point. But yeah, it just sucks for the kid. I mean, just brutal for the kid.
And to build off of that, it was not only AJ Smith-Shawver who suffered an injury throughout the day. There were multiple injuries that occurred. Unfortunately, a Stuart Fairchild, I believe, sliding into a base. I can't remember the exact sequence that led to the injury, but he hurt his pinky. Now, I think he actually broke his pinky, but he was actually available to pinch run in game 2, but it's likely that he's going to be out for at least.
I think the official was dislocated.
Yeah, dislocated. Okay, there we go. So it'll be interesting to see whether he goes to the IL or what have you. Listen, Stuart Fairchild, just to be completely transparent, the injury to him is certainly, not fun to hear. It, again, hurts the Braves' depth. Nick Allen also got hit by a Zach Wheeler pitch. Now, it has come out while we were doing this podcast that the x-rays were negative, so hopefully there's positive news there. In all honesty, though, when it comes to Stuart Fairchild, Nick Allen, if they're out for a few days, okay, their production can be made up for. So, hopefully there won't be too much, bad injury news from that. But I think what it does show is this, though, is that, we talk about what the Braves could potentially do at the trade deadline. Well, I also think that it shows while the offense is doing pretty well, Steven, there are some parts of this team with Ronald Acuna Jr. back. Stuart Fairchild, Nick Allen, I think you keep Nick Allen, obviously, as depth. But Stuart Fairchild, for instance, how much longer is he with the team? I think that we could potentially see some more roster shuffling going on besides potentially who replaces AJ Smith-Shawver. It's just going to be interesting to see, especially if the team can build off this win. It'll be interesting to see how maybe the bench, the back end of the pitchers in the bullpen, how that kind of develops over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and if Fairchild, I don't know what they're going to do if they put him on the IL. I'm assuming Jared Kelenic just comes up. I haven't heard that or seen that, but that's just my assumption that he's the next probably outfielder up. Luke Williams can probably play shortstop for a couple of days. I don't know if they would have let Luke Williams play shortstop for anything more than that. They might have to go get somebody. I did see that Nicky Lopez signed with the Diamondbacks today. So that's one option that is off the table. And Orlando Arcia signed, I don't know if you saw this, Orlando Arcia signed with the Rockies and was DHing in his first game, which is, if you want to know where the Colorado Rockies are at as a franchise, they have Orlando Arcia DHing for them. So
Tank Commander Orlando Arcia.
Yeah. So helps keep things in perspective when the Braves have a rough stretch. At least we're not Orlando Arcia DHing level. But yeah, so if Nick Allen's, it looks like he avoided any serious injury, but if it was anything significant, I'm guessing they would try to go get somebody. The Braves have zero shortstop depth in their organization, as everyone famously knows at this point. I would love for them to go find somebody who can play defense and hit a little bit. That seems like something the Braves have a hard time doing at shortstop. It's literally either somebody who can field incredibly but hit like a high schooler, or nothing. And I would love for them to go get somebody that can do a little of both, but it looks like Nick Allen avoided serious injuries. So I'm assuming Kelnick is going to come up for Fairchild.
Absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see as we go through the next few days. But here's the big thing. We are officially, we talked about it the last couple of podcasts. We are at that point in the season where the Braves typically turn it on. After they struggle through April and May, they typically turn it on right after Memorial Day going into June. You've got your significant win to be able to build off of. We'll discuss how the Braves can do that in another important series over the weekend against the Red Sox and coming up next week against the Diamondbacks and so on. We'll discuss a bit more about that in just a moment after another word from our partners.
Kratz, my pup was picky, not anymore with Spot and Tango Unkibble, and it is about 40% less expensive than frozen food. So we're saving in the wallet and we're making our pups happier.
Let's go apples to apples. I'm not cheap, but I don't want to waste my money on something that's good for my dog. This is perfect.
Yeah, they are very excited. Both Bella, Kratz's pup, and Penelope, my little pup, for Spot and Tango. You can get your pup excited too, and there's no more guessing how much to feed your dog either. Spot and Tango creates a custom plan based on your dog's age, weight, breed, and activity level. It's a nice little survey. So upgrade your pet's bowl with Spot and Tango Unkibble for a limited time. Go to spotandtango.com/foul. Use code FOUL to get 50% off your first order. That's spotandtango.com/foul. Code FOUL for 50% off your first order. Spotandtango.com/foul. Code FOUL.
Before we get into the weekend series against the Boston Red Sox, I feel that one thing that we do need to talk about when we're talking about positives is Ronald Acuna Jr. We've now seen him about a week's worth of at-bats, and I looked over at Baseball Savant as we were listening to a word from our partners just to kind of see what the metrics were showing so far. Again, I know it's only been 7 days, but Steve, or basically 7 games, but Steven, so far, he's in the 95th or better percentile in XWOBA and hard hit percentage, and bat speed. He is in the 100th percentile in expected slugging, average exit velocity, barrel percentage, and hard hit percentage. We talked about the fact that once we got Ronald Acuna Jr. back, what was he going to look like at the plate? The fielding, the base running, they'll come along in time. Can we get back a difference maker at the plate? We are absolutely seeing that so far. Couldn't have asked for a better start to things with the home run that he hit in the first pitch that he saw coming back, but he looks like he hasn't missed a step. He right now at the plate is looking like 2023 MVP Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, I think he's played 6 games. He's got 1,100 OPS. Bunch of really hard hit ball. Even his outs are hard hit. He had a couple of line drives to center field in the second game today.
103 exit velocity average so far this year.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's stupid how crazy that is. And he came in the first game, and Fairchild got hurt, and he came in and immediately hit a RBI single and then hit a double that eventually scored. So, yeah, he's just been awesome. I mean, he's been – if you had told me that Ronald was going to have an 1,100 OPS in the first 6 games, I would have told you the Braves probably would have done better than 2 and 3, 2 and 4 in those 6 games. But they lost the series to the Padres and they lost the series to the Phillies. So it just kind of shows you how poorly everybody else has been doing. That Ronald did this well, and the Braves only went 2 and 4 in the 6 games he's played. But if you're looking at process, and we try to stick with process on the show, if Ronald keeps doing that at the top of the lineup, everybody else at some point will follow suit, and we will see an improved version of this offense. I still believe that. I know it's crazy, but I still believe that. I still believe in the talent of this team. We saw it a little bit today. We just have to see it consistently for any period of time. And that's what they've been missing. They'll do it for a game. They'll do it for a couple games. They'll do it for a series. But then it just goes away. And when it goes away hard. I mean, they lose it quick. And having Ronnie back obviously means everything. Having Riley hit a homer today is first in like a month. Having Ozzie homer today. Ozuna, Olsen, Murphy hit a home run today. There are signs. We're going to say that hesitantly, but there are signs of life. We'll just see if they can keep it going.
And they're going to have the opportunity to keep it going this weekend. The Red Sox coming to downtown. Some pretty fun pitching matchups. Grant Holmes versus Lucas Giolito tomorrow. Then you've got Spencer Schwellenbach versus Walker Buehler. And then Sunday, we've already seen Sale versus Crochet this year. Spencer Strider versus Garrett Crochet in the finale of the series on Sunday. To me, the Braves need to get the first 2 games to really feel good about this series, and I think that they can. But, Steven, that's what stands out to me. The 2 big keys of this series, in my opinion, the Braves being able to build off how they performed offensively today going against the Red Sox. They had a good offensive series against the Red Sox in Boston. We've seen this before from the Braves. Couple of games where it looks like there's signs of life. The offense is really getting going, and then they'll drop off like we've seen so many times this season so far. Put together a week or so of good offense. And the second thing is the Braves need to make some decisions. They need to make some changes, and they need to make some decisions quickly about the bullpen hierarchy. In my opinion, you want to keep Raisel Iglesias in the closer spot, that's fine. Pierce Johnson or Dylan Lee need to be your 8th inning guys, depending on matchups right now. Daysville Hernandez, again, the stuff is certainly there, but the production just is not. You cannot trust Daysville in that 8th inning right now. So I do feel like we talk about Snicker and the coaching staff, how they're slow to change at times. This is a time where when we talk about building off this tonight's win, it's also about you making changes where they're obvious. Putting together a sensible bullpen hierarchy for the weekend, I really think could help the Braves, especially if they can get some early leads.
Yeah, coming out of a doubleheader, the bullpen is actually in good shape in terms of usage. Everybody only got used once today. I don't even know if Dylan Lee pitched today. I have to go back and look. I know he didn't pitch in the second game. It was a blowout in the second game, and that helps. And then the Braves are off on Monday. And so you have the rain out on Wednesday. You have the off day next Monday. So in terms of usage and rest and stuff like that, the bullpen's in good shape. Now, in terms of how they're currently all pitching, the bullpen's a little bit of a mess right now. And the bullpen did not have a good day today. I think they gave up 3 runs in game 2. I think they gave up 2 or 3 runs in game 1.
Scott Blewett looked human. Scott Blewett himself looked human, and that lets you know that there's really some concerns about the bullpen.
Yeah. When Scott Blewett is not mowing people down, you're in trouble. And so, the bullpen is definitely a concern. Listen, Boston is another team that's kind of in crisis mode. They're going through it kind of like the Braves are going through it. They just lost Alex Bregman for a significant period of time. They actually just called up Marcelo Meyer to play third base because Bregman is going to be out for so long. They still have Devers, who is a monster and destroys the Braves every time they play him. Devers seems to hit 4 home runs in a series. So, there's actually been I've actually been reading a lot today. There's a lot of speculation that Roman Anthony might come up tomorrow to debut. If you don't know who Roman Anthony is, the number 1 prospect in baseball. He's an outfitter for Boston. But that's how badly they're going right now. Is no one really understands why Roman Anthony is still in the minor leagues. He is destroying AAA. And there's not really any logical reason why he's still down there. So there's a lot of speculation that he might come up and debut in this series. We'll see. But the fact they don't have Bregman is a big deal. And obviously the Braves do get Crochet in the series. He pitches Sunday against Strider. It'd be a good series. Boston's a lot like the Braves. They're a talented team. They've spent some money. They made some big moves. Crochet and Bregman were 2, all-in kind of moves this offseason, plus Buehler. And they've underperformed. And so it's, kind of a tale of 2 teams at the moment who are going through some similar stuff. The difference is the Red Sox just lost Bregman and the Braves just got back Acuna. And the Braves will be at home. This is a series you need to win. 2 out of 3 is the expectation. And if you win the first 2, try to steal that one against Crochet and get a sweep. But when you're at home, when you're playing a team that's not playing great, you need to win 2 out of 3 of these games. And that's my expectation. And they need to keep it rolling, keep scoring runs. Schwellenbach, Grant Holmes, Strider, that's fine. You can win with that. The bullpen is not in great shape, but the bullpen hasn't really been in great shape all year anyways. So score some runs, make life easier on everybody, and make sure you get at least 2 out of 3 in this next series.
Another big key, well, actually 2 more keys. Don't throw middle fastballs or middle pitches to Rafael Devers. Don't do that.
Maybe don't throw any pitches to Rafael Devers.
Yeah. Have someone else beat you. Now, to Jalen Duren's credit, he was a menace at the top of the order as well. He had a really good series getting on base. So if you can limit the overall production of the top of their order, you should be fine. But yes, make somebody else beat you besides Rafael Devers. To end the podcast, though, we talked about it last time. Who's going to step up in the clubhouse? Who's going to really deliver? I want to get back to this team responding in a way that was needed. The whole team being able to really put together a convincing victory. Now, again, you have to build off of it. This is a series where you are the more talented team. And this is also a series where you're finally able to put together a top of the order that is so menacing. Like even against right-handers, when Snicker right now is going Acuna, Baldwin, Ozuna, Olsen, then Riley, that stacks up against nearly anybody else's top 5 in baseball. You've got proof that you could do it. It's time to start acting like it. To your point, we need to win this series. But the thing that I'll add to that, Steven, we need to do it in convincing fashion. You were able to get to Giolito early. We got 3 earned runs, had the chance for more in the last time we faced him in the first inning. Jump on him early. Get the job done early. If we're wanting to talk about the next step for this offense, do some damage early. That's when you really know the Braves offense is clicking. A golden opportunity to get some momentum going. So many times this year we've seen them not take advantage of it, but now with Acuna back, you potentially could see it. Hopefully they'll be able to do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, they need to score runs. Even you talk about the top 5 with Acuna, Baldwin, Ozuna, Riley, Olsen, but even Ozzy is having his hottest stretch of the year right now. I think he's on like a 13-game hitting streak or something like that. Homered today. So right now the lineup is as deep as it's been all season with Acuna back and Ozzy hitting well. Michael Harris is still in a funk, but beggars can't be choosers at this point. At least we got a handful of guys going decently well. Seeing a Riley homer today was unbelievably satisfying. I really hope that, Riley can get bananas level hot. And it usually happens sometime right around now, like right around the start of June. So good Lord, would I love to see that. And obviously having Acuna back means everything. So yeah, go score runs. Listen, the pitching is banged up. The starting pitching is banged up. Obviously they just lost Smith-Shawver. The bullpen is not great right now. I don't know if we're going to see Craig Kimbrell. There's a lot of talk online that maybe this is the time to bring Kimbrell up. He's been nasty at AAA lately. He's got like a 1-something ERA in his last 15 outings or something like that. The stuff is still not, he's still not going to be like ace level, prime closer level Kimbrell, but the bullpen is in such a shape that I certainly wouldn't object to seeing him at least see what he can do. But yeah, go score runs and just make life easier like they did today. They didn't need a great bullpen because they scored 9 runs today. Well, you know what? Let's do that. Let's go do that. Let's go score 7, 8, 9 runs in a few games in a row. And it doesn't matter how the bullpen pitches because you got such a margin. That's the way to get on a roll. And that's what I hope to see this weekend.
And you know what? And I'll end on this. 2 people who deserve to have a fun podcast, a podcast right after a convincing win like we did. Brad Rowland and Scott Coleman.
Yeah, they have gotten a brutal draw lately.
Absolutely. The last couple of Wednesdays, you're talking about rainouts. I know they've done a couple of mailbag shows. You've also got, the past couple of Sundays, some, disappointing losses. Just bring it home from Brad, sweep it for Scott, put those hashtags out there, tag them on social media as many times as you want with those, by the way. Tell them Shawn Coleman said hello. But all joking aside, let's win it for those 2 guys. But putting that aside, it's a golden opportunity again for the Braves to get the job done. I don't mean to be repetitive by saying that, It's just important that they realize that now they need to get immediate dividends going off of the way that today ended. We'll have more, obviously. Really, we'll see the fallout from all these injuries as the weekend series goes along. Right back to it at Truist Park tomorrow. Make sure you check out all the great action wherever you enjoy your Braves. And make sure you check out the podcast. You've got me at Shawn Coleman at SAC across all forms of social media. You've got Stephen Tolbert at B_outliers across, on Twitter/X. Hammer Territory across all sources of social media. Foul Territory, we're all a part of the Foul Territory family of podcasts. And make sure you check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen and watch podcasts. For next time, hopefully we'll have plenty of wins to talk about over the weekend. But until then, go Braves. We'll talk to you again soon here on the Hammer Territory podcast.